Hey guys.
Welcome back to Invisible to the Ice podcast. My name's Roselli.
And I'm Brandon.
Today's episode is Vampires and the Quest for Eternal Youth.
Oh, vampires? That sounds creepy.
We had to do something along the lines of what we did last episode, which was Halloween. I mean, I know we started that early, but I don't think there's such a thing.
It's just about October, so...
So the next couple of episodes will be more along these lines of, Halloween themed. Because I want to get as many Halloween themes added on here as possible.
Hey, sounds good to me. I love Halloween.
Yeah, and since we're only doing like an episode every 2 weeks, I think it just makes sense to do Halloween stuff for this next couple.
Yeah, definitely.
But for today, we're going to be talking about vampires. And this is, as I mentioned, continuing our theme and what we want to do with the channel for now, of course. I hope you all like Halloween as well. So, what are some of the things that we think about when we think about vampires?
The name Dracula?
Of course. Everyone, I think, knows Dracula, right? And then, of course, we think about vampires not being able to go out in the sunlight. And because of that, they have really pale skin and long nails. I think my nails would be appropriate for vampire, right? What else?
They hate garlic, which is just unacceptable.
I know you can't ever possibly be a vampire because you eat way too much garlic.
I definitely cannot be called a vampire. They also have... at least the examples I've seen, they have, like, slicked back black hair, capes, sharp fangs, pale skin.
Yep.
Stuff like that. That's what I think of when I think of vampires.
What about, like, being able to shapeshift, right?
Oh, yeah.
And not just into bats. I mean, everyone thinks that, right? But they've been shown to, in all these tales, they've been shown to change forms into other animals, right?
I guess I've only seen them transform into bats.
Yeah, there's bats and there's wolves, and maybe that's hinting at something coming up on the show.
No, can't say that.
So, have you ever wondered, since we are speaking about all these characteristics of vampires, have you ever wondered, like, where all of that comes from?
Up until now, I haven't really thought about it.
That's what I pretty much do with everything. I always wonder, where did this come from? Like, who thought of that? And of course, is there any truth to it? Or what are they based on? Like, what kind of creature are they based out of?
Yeah, I used to not really think about that, but, as of recent, I've started, thinking about things as well.
So, the modern idea of a vampire goes back to the 18th century Eastern Europe. And it was the idea of the vampires coming back from the dead and, being able to transform into bats, like you said. And also only coming out at night. So all of this can be traced back to Eastern Europe around this time. And, well, during this time, there was a lot of stuff going on, like illnesses, really strange ones, right?
Yeah.
Our first account of a vampire was, what was his name?
His name was Peter Plagociewicz. He was the first, sighting of a vampire, I guess you would call it, or first account.
Yeah, like historical account, right?
Yeah, so the story is he died in September of 1728 at the age of 62. And a few days after his death, it was said that he visited his home and talked to his son asking for food. His son refused, and then it went away. 2 days later, he came back and asked for food again. The son again refused, and the next day he was dead.
Wow. That's a messed up son. Doesn't even want to feed his own dad.
I mean, he might have been scared. He's like, "Wait, you're dead. How can you be talking to me?"
How could they know that he was dead? Like, he clearly had something going on, right? Or maybe the kid just imagined everything.
It could be. He could have hallucinated, something like that. Could have been part of an illness.
Yeah.
But then at the same time that all this was going on, there were other villagers that were reported to have loss of blood, exhaustion, and they all died as well of the same exact thing.
Oh, that's really crazy. But, I mean, it does make me think of the illnesses of the time. Like, if one person gets it, I'm pretty sure that a lot of people will have it. Especially back then, they didn't know as much about, how to treat certain diseases like tuberculosis.
Yeah, and I think the weirdest part about it was all of these people, it was claimed that Plagojewicz came to them in their dreams and sucked their blood in their neck in the dream.
That's so scary.
So, if they're all having the same hallucinations, which is really, to me, pretty weird. But, I think it could happen. There could have been people that were mourning his death and just, it was a thought in their head.
I wonder why people thought he was a vampire. Like, I don't think we really got much research on that, right?
Well, so, the magistrate had reported to the Imperial Army about what they found, all the dead bodies, how they were found, and the commander actually said, "We need to dig up these bodies and examine them." So they ordered all of the bodies to be taken out of the ground and examined.
Oh.
So when they found Plagojewicz's body, he was pretty much wide awake. It was like he was in a trance. He was, breathing. His eyes were wide open. He was breathing gently. He had plump skin. He had long fingernails, long hair. All those features. So at that point, they decided that he was a vampire because, how can somebody still be alive after they've been buried?
I mean, yeah, at the time, like, wow, I mean, just imagine being in that town where everybody's talking about this person who was found, like, if they weren't dead.
Yeah, and I think the part that probably freaked everybody out was, the plump skin. You would think that since he's been in the ground, you would think he'd be a skeleton at that point. Or at least somewhat decomposed.
Yeah, and I know that during this time period, it was really common to, just take corpses out of their graves, right? Like, it was kind of in rotation. Like, they were running out of room.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I know that was a very common thing to do, was to remove the corpses from their graves. And yeah, every so often you would come across one that wasn't decomposed. I mean, when you think of bodies being in the grave, like, you think you're going to be left with bones, right? And that's what these people wanted to find or expected to find. But in this particular case, they found just a different stage of decomposition. And I think it's just something that they didn't understand. Because things like, the breathing gently, that happens with corpses, during the decomposition process. Like, they will make noises, they will move because the muscles are relaxing and things like that. Also, the stomach being like full can be explained with the bacteria that's found in our gut. Just because we die doesn't mean that the bacteria will die right away too. It starts feeding on the body and releases all these gases, and that's what makes the belly look full. And also, that could explain the blood found on the sides of their mouths, because this also is the fluid being released by the body.
That makes sense.
So all of these things about the decomposition process are some things that, the villagers then didn't know anything about, right?
Yeah.
And so it is extremely scary when you don't know about something, you see it happen. I think maybe even to this day, not a lot of us know about that decomposition stages, right? Or what we would expect if we opened up a grave. And I think we just gotta do research like I did.
So, going back to the story, they ended up taking all the bodies out of the ground and, checking if there were any signs of being a vampire. And they found no signs of vampirism. And so they put them back in the ground, but when they buried them, they put garlic next to them. Mm-hmm. Just in case.
Garlic?
Yeah, because vampires hate garlic, but I found something, it's a disease called porphyria, which it's caused by irregularities in the production of heme, which is, a chemical in the body. And people who have this type of disease have an intolerance of garlic.
Interesting. So is that where that garlic thing comes from, really, right?
It's the sulfur in the garlic.
Yeah, so that's where we get the idea of the vampires being afraid of garlic or whatever, right?
I guess that means I'm not a vampire then, because I love garlic.
I think we already knew. So now that we know where the modern idea of what a vampire is comes from, let's talk about where the name Dracula comes from.
So you know of Bram Stoker's Dracula from the book.
Yes.
And I'm not sure if you've seen the movie of it from the 90s.
And they also made it a musical. So
I actually didn't know that one.
It's been really popular.
So Bram Stoker's Dracula, as you know, was linked to Transylvania. Mm-hmm. That's where Dracula's castle is supposed to be, because it's all foggy and dark and creepy.
I want to go visit.
I'd like to visit it too. But there was actually a real life Dracula, someone that they called Dracula, named Vlad the Impaler. Funny thing about him is he wasn't even living in Transylvania. He never even set foot in Dracula's castle. It was Dracula's castle, like I said, because it's foggy and everything, but he was never in it.
Not in Transylvania, then.
No. Something similar to Dracula, to Bram Stoker's, is Vlad the Impaler drank the blood of his enemies.
Oh no!
So yeah, he killed them, took their blood, drank it, just like a vampire would.
And I can imagine with a nickname as the Impaler. Ugh, I don't even. I can't.
I can't even imagine just drinking straight blood.
It's ugh.
Yeah. And like the story of Dracula, you know how they would drive wooden stakes into them to keep them in their graves, or drive stakes in them to kill a vampire?
Yeah.
The similarity to that with Vlad the Impaler is he used to impale people on spikes in the ground and basically hang them up.
Didn't he have like a banquet or something?
He would have banquets around the dead bodies where he impaled them.
Oh, no, thank you. I do not want to come to your dinner party.
Oh, no. No.
That's... I can't even imagine, like, how terrible of a person he was. No wonder they called him Dracula.
Yeah, it's like, it's not enough to win the battles, but you have to impale them up on poles, too? That just seems like overkill right there.
Absolutely.
And I don't even know if they were dead. I don't even know if he did that to dead bodies.
Oh, gosh.
I think they might have been very much alive. But Bram Stoker's Dracula was, I believe that the author called him Dracula because he thought it meant son of the devil.
Oh, okay.
But in Vlad's case, it meant son of the dragon because his father was part of the Order of the Dragon.
Right. So that's where the name comes from. It doesn't come from this person, right? It comes from, this person's dad.
Yeah, and it was, just a secret society.
So they called him Dracul, right?
Yeah.
Instead of, like, Dracula, it was just without the A, and then I guess the A means son of, so it would be translated to son of the dragon, right? And I'm sorry, I probably pronounced that so wrong.
But seeing all of those similarities, you can see where Bram Stoker got the ideas for Dracula.
Yeah, some really dark inspiration there.
I think the only thing missing is the sharp teeth. I mean, he could have had sharp teeth, for all we know, but...
Maybe. I mean, we'll put a picture.
We'll let you decide whether he has sharp teeth or not.
You've probably seen it already. So there you go. Well, enough about Vlad the Impaler.
Yummy blood.
No more of that. I mean, basically what we found out was that, vampires can be traced back to the 18th century, right? And it was in Europe, and at this time, people that lived in these parts, they didn't really understand a lot about the disease that was going around. At the time, I think it was tuberculosis. And so with tuberculosis, you find that people are cold to the touch because, it is often seen with anemia. And that explains also why people had a light sensitivity when going outside. It would hurt their eyes, and that was all through having tuberculosis. And of course, once tuberculosis hit one family member, the whole family would very often and quickly get it as well. And so that's how it was able to spread so quickly. And I mean, that explains why the small villages that people lived in, I mean, of course it would go really quickly, right?
Yeah.
So they found corpses because we talked about how it was very common at that time to like dig up bodies. And I mean, during this process, they would find bodies that would exhibit weird, or what was considered weird symptoms, right? But as we mentioned earlier, they weren't really all that weird. It was just a different stage in the decomposition process. And so, I mean, everything led up to even the Empress of Austria. She had to prohibit grave digging. That's how bad it got. That's how scared people were. And this happens to people even now. People are really scared of things that they don't understand. And I think it just helps us to feel better about those things that makes us scared. Those things that frighten us. I mean, we have to understand them. I think that's why I've been such a huge horror fan for as long as I can remember.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I like to find out what I'm scared of. And I like to just kind of question a lot of things. And I found out quite a lot about vampires this time. I was really impressed.
Yeah, I didn't really know much about vampires before this.
Yeah, and also it led me into thinking, like, what really, I don't know, I guess what really makes us like vampires? I mean, they're super popular, right? I remember every Halloween there was someone dressed up as a vampire, right?
I don't think I've gone to Halloween without seeing that.
Have you ever dressed up as a vampire yourself?
No.
Yes, I have, for sure. I think I have a picture when I was really little of being a vampire.
Yeah, no, I never.
And also, I thought it was really interesting to find out about them because, I mean, my favorite animal is a bat. So I like learning about vampires. And I know that there are the modern vampires, like actual people today out there. And for them, I mean, all I have to say is just stay safe, right? Like, I can't really judge anybody for doing whatever they choose to do, as long as they have consent of someone and they have like even donors and everything.
Yeah, definitely not my thing.
Not for me, for sure. But whoever chooses to do that, like, we're not going to judge you for that, right?
Yeah.
We shouldn't judge people for stuff that they choose to do. And, you know, as long as they're not hurting anyone.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, without their consent.
No forcibly taking blood.
Yeah, exactly. We established that vampires are extremely popular. They're the first thing we think about when it comes to Halloween. Well, if not the first, one of the first for sure, right? When we think of classic Halloween monsters, vampires definitely come to mind.
It's definitely at the top of the list for me.
And why do you think that there's such a fascination for them?
'Cause they're really mysterious creatures.
Yeah, I think so. And also, I think it has to do with some of their characteristics. They might sound really appealing to a lot of people.
Which characteristics?
I think eternal youth and, you know, living forever.
Oh, I never thought about that one.
I think about that a lot, especially with today's research out there. Like, this seems more and more possible with technology and advancements in technology, and it's something super scary to me.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I would have it, but I could see how it could be a scary thing.
Yeah, so I don't know who started this story about a fountain. Do you know what fountain I'm talking about?
The Fountain of Youth.
Yeah, so the Fountain of Youth is supposed to be this, you know, mythical water source where the water that flows in there, if you drink it, it makes you live forever.
Ooh, I wish I could have that.
Well, a lot of people did and still do, I'm sure. The thing I know about the Fountain of Youth and why I wanted to mention it here is because Juan Ponce de Leon went after this water source, and he supposedly found it in north of Española. And there's a place in Florida where you can visit, I think.
Really?
Yeah, and I don't know how true it is of a fountain of youth, but I think maybe there are some things that we can do to take care of our bodies and to, slow the aging process down. And that's modern day research.
What kind of things can you do?
So I found a lot of information about this particular doctor, Professor David A. Sinclair, and he works for Harvard, and he has a book called Lifespan: Why We Age and Why We Don't Have to. His research pretty much focuses on the aging process, and I think that's really cool, but also like super scary, because like, what's after that?
Just nothing, I guess.
Age reversal?
Age reversal. That's weird.
Exactly. So a lot of these things that Professor Sinclair teaches include what we can do to slow our aging process down. So there are these cells in our bodies that are in charge of regeneration. And when they lose their ability to do that, they start making mistakes. They're not supposed to, and there are things that you can do to, I guess, help those cells not make mistakes. One of those things is avoiding the free radicals from the sun.
Oh, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. So wearing sunscreen can help the aging process, and also like consuming less red meats.
Oh, I might be in trouble on that.
I know. Yeah, and that one's uneasy for me, for sure. And also running. Like running a lot helps, and I think that's kind of mimicking our bodies into the state of panic. And so our body cells are more alert as well. And I think that's what helps them continue to, do what they do and, make new cells, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I thought that this topic was really interesting, and I actually found a video called How to Slow Aging and Even Reverse It. And this is Veritasium is the channel. And we've used them as reference in previous episodes as well. And I just really like their content because they do interview Sinclair, and he talks about his research, and I think it's amazing how far our knowledge of the aging process is, like how far we've come. I hope that we continue on. I think it's really great that we are exploring more. But as I mentioned earlier, it also frightens me. I think that today's technology can be really scary. Like, have you heard of the new thing that Elon Musk did? I know I don't really like him all that much, but...
Your favorite person. But no, I don't. I don't know what he's come up with.
Well, he was doing some scary research. Scary to me, because me personally, I wouldn't want anything to go in my brain. But he had an experiment with a brain implant on a pig.
Oh no.
And so he was able to monitor the brain activity.
Okay, that is scary.
Right? Like, thank you. I'm glad that I'm not the only one that thinks this is super scary. I do think that we've come a long way technology-wise, and, this man has a lot to do with it, but it frightens me.
Yeah, I mean, as impressive as it is, I would not want anybody putting any type of chip in my head that, someone could track or...
So what if, we were talking about vampires, right? What if, like, being a vampire required you to have a chip or, go through this artificial intelligence section? So, like, the technology could get so good that eventually we could download our brains into, I don't know, like a memory stick and just plug them into the next body. Like, that to me is super scary to think about. And I don't know, like...
It's a cool concept. I mean, to be able to, plug your brain anywhere, but like you said, that is a little scary.
I think we're getting closer and closer for that possibility to happen. And now I have to ask you, would you want to live forever?
Not if it means putting a chip in my head.
I don't know if I would want to. I think I have accepted the fact that we have limited amount of time here. And it makes me cherish even the smallest things.
I don't think I'd be against.
And I don't know. I just feel like having something like that, I think you would take things for granted more.
I guess it just depends on the person. I mean, some people might, live their life the right way if they live forever, but
Yeah.
there are some people, like you said, that'll take things for granted.
But now you give me a anti-aging cream, I'll take that in the quickness.
Or a face mask.
Exactly. Any of that, yes, I'm all for it. But a chip in my brain, I don't know about that. I guess I'd rather be a vampire and discovered later on in my grave with some blood coming from my mouth.
Ew.
So, yeah, that pretty much concludes our episode for now. I know it was a smaller section on artificial intelligence, but I know that's a topic that some of you have wanted us to cover, and I just wanted to make it known that we are doing our research on that, and we will be having an episode just simply on that, I think, at some point.
Yeah, at some point.
After our Halloween episodes, right?
Yeah, we have plenty more Halloween coming your way.
Yep, I just don't want it to stop, so I think I might go after Halloween too with the scare. I don't know. We'll see. I'm just brainstorming at this point.
But as always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit the bell if you want to see our videos pop up.
And also, let us know, like, would you like to be a vampire if you had the chance? Even if it meant, like, possibly having a chip in your brain?
Yeah, and also, what do you think of the whole artificial intelligence thing? Are you all for it? Would you want to live forever?
I'm sure no one's going to be scared of that except for me.
It's got its ups and downs, right?
I guess. So, again, thank you. And you can find us on Instagram and Twitter and also Snapchat if you want to see some pictures here and there.
Yeah, and just remember
to look beyond what you see.
We'll see you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.